Children continue to suffer disproportionately in most situations of armed conflict around the world. They remain most susceptible to suffering and are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of armed conflicts. Recently, addressing the UNSC high-level open debate, India stressed the need for ending impunity for all actors inciting and perpetuating grave violations against children in armed conflict situations. Take a look. In many parts of the world, children are among the most severely affected victims of terrorist attacks. Thousands of children are abducted, recruited, and used by terrorist groups. Because of their young age and psychological malleability, children become particularly dangerous instruments in the hands of those exploiting them for the purpose of committing criminal offences. There is no single path to recruitment, but once associated with terror groups, children are subjected to multiple forms of physical and psychological violence, including forms of torture and cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment. They are often injured or killed in combat. Recently, at the UNSC high-level open debate on children and armed conflict, India expressed concern on the rising number of children recruited and involved in terrorism-related activities and termed it as a dangerous and worrying trend. The debate came a week after the report of the Secretary General on Children and Armed Conflict, which mentions that over 25% of child casualties were caused by mines and explosive devices.
A dangerous and worrying trend in global terrorism is the rising number of children that are recruited and involved in terrorism-related activities. For terror groups, children are most susceptible to manipulation, whether as active participants in terror or as human shields to protect the perpetrators of terror. School closures due to pandemic have been misused by these terrorist groups to target children, including through online avenues, for radicalization and indoctrination in violent extremist ideologies. There is an urgent need for a more coordinated approach in implementing the child protection and counter-terrorism agenda.
The school closures due to the pandemic have been misused by terrorist groups to target children, including through online avenues for radicalization and indoctrination in violent extremist ideologies. India has stressed on the need for ending impunity for all actors inciting and perpetuating grave violence against children in armed conflict situations.
We recognize the importance of having sufficient resources and requisite number of child protection advisors in peacekeeping missions for effective implementation of child protection programs. The Council should consider incorporating adequate child protection provisions and capacity in all relevant mandates of UN peacekeeping operations. There is also a greater need for constructive engagement with respective national governments in the formulation and implementation of child protection action plans, which is integral to sustaining durable peace.
It is important to build an enabling and conducive environment to ensure holistic development of a child with special focus on nutrition, education and safety. Children who grew up in conflict and post-conflict situations often need a fresh start. Therefore, there is an urgent need to strengthen legal and operational tools for child protection.